Hey, I'm Megs and welcome to the Free to Be You podcast. I'm a life alignment coach passionate about helping women uncover who they really are so they can author a life they're obsessed with, so they can go from self-abandonment to full self-expression. This podcast is created with one purpose: to give you permission to finally free yourself up and be you in every area of your life. We discuss everything from mindset, health and vulnerability, to relationships, parenting, and so much more. I'm so thrilled to have my dear friend Patty Ann Waho back on the show. Patty is an intimacy and sex specialist who helps people improve their relationships and understand their desires. She emphasizes the importance on knowing what one truly wants in a relationship beyond just knowing what they don't want. Sensuality, self-love, confidence, and self-empowerment are key elements she focuses on to promote respect and uniqueness. We discuss balancing mother and lover energy in your relationship and the importance of rediscovering intimacy beyond bringing up your children, so you can have that sexy desire for each other and feel free to be you all over again. Patty, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited about having you back because I know we got a lot of great feedback last time.
It was a goodie. I finally listened to it.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that. And we've been trying to make this happen now for a couple of weeks. So I'm really excited that everyone is going to get to hear more of your wisdom. And what I thought would be really good to dive into today is, because a lot of the women that listen to this show, you guys are mothers and we're also lovers.
Yes, we are, most importantly.
Yes, well, we want to be. And sometimes we find ourselves not feeling sexy and not feeling like that part of our relationship is where we want it to be. Or we feel like we can't be free.
Or have a dry pussy.
Or that. Correct.
I tried to get her to say it, but she wouldn't say it. Okay, back to you.
So, yeah. And so I think that you have a really good way of diving into this and getting and helping people get an understanding. So I think, what is when we say mother, lover, like that has they have very different energies.
Yep,
so
100%.
Yeah. How would you describe them?
Well, I coined these that, so I'm a mother of 4 and now I have grandchildren as well. So the biggest thing that I find with mothers is they forget how to be a lover. So our number one job as nurturers is when these babies are born. Our job from the imprint years, from 0 to 7, is to nurture. That is our job when it comes to children. However, we still have to look after ourselves, and we still have to be connected to the father of the children, and hopefully if you're still with them, or our partner, our lover. And what happens is most mothers forget that, and then they just become mothers. And then that's how there's so many relationship breakdowns, because they don't know how to shift their energy from being a mother to a lover. It's total different energies. And that's the biggest reminder. And that's why I love to talk about it, is to remind women that we are sensual women and we are sexy as fuck. And we forget that because it's not nurturing to be a mother all the time. I know those days when I had crack nipples, like you've just given birth to these, I've had 10-pound babies, and you get ripped to shreds, and then you have to be a lover. You got to stick something back up there. So you push this big, huge baby, and then, they want to have sex and shove their big dick up you. And it's just like, wait. And most women will shut down because it's this protection of their bodies just being through this huge, tsunami. It's just crazy. And so that's why women have to be super gentle with themselves and look after themselves. And being a lover is one of the most important things. And if we don't do that, we'll lose touch with ourselves. And that's when it's
our partner.
100%. And that's where we see relationship breakdown.
Yeah. And so what is a good place, or where's a good place to kind of start this conversation? Like, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about those energies.
Yes.
So why do you think we stay in that space? Like, we obviously, of course, after you've just had a baby, we all feel, we're not really in a hurry to have another one.
No,
because,
definitely not.
Right?
No, yeah.
So we definitely find that shift in our sexual energy. And like, I'll find that, and I know that you and I have talked about this off the show, that a lot of people stay in that space.
Yes.
So why do you think that happens? And why do you think that we can sometimes find it difficult to go back to how things were?
Oh, okay, one thing at a time. That's a chunky question. I think that what we've spoken about this off the show is what people do is they want to take their relationship back to the honeymoon, stage. So, before children, they were fucking like rabbits, and you only have to look after each other. And you'd have fun, right? Then you bring this human into the world, your relationship changes, everything changes. And what people do is they're trying to get what they had. And what I said to you before is you will never get that back. You will need to mourn the loss of that relationship, the fact that that had that honeymoon relationship, and now you've got babies, which are beautiful, and then they become these little humans. So it's about starting something new and recreating, but we'll get into that later. But the biggest thing, I think, when you said how do we start, is we have to recognize it. And what women do is, because we're in lack of sleep, body is just taking a beating, we've talked about being people pleasers as well, and you're trying to do all the things, and then the last thing, some people feel they don't feel like connecting to their partner, and that's generally the last thing that doesn't get touched. So the important thing is to sort of take stock of where you are in your relationship.
And so when we're talking now, obviously, about when baby first comes along, but we can find ourselves there much later as well.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, because even when we talked about you've got heaps of kids, I've got heaps of kids, every child falls off the wagon. Generally, hopefully it's not all at the same time. So we're always trying to, fix stuff. We're trying to let them have their own life as well. I'm not trying to, change that. We've all got our own lives to live. And the thing is, well, how do we reconnect with our partner? That's the most important thing. And when we talked about the relationship timeline is, letting that go. So we're letting go of the honeymoon period, coming back and realizing that we're not going to be perfect humans. We will make mistakes. And then how do we not do that? One of the biggest things that I find women do is they start staying the mother energy, and then they start mothering their partner. That is the most unsexy thing ever, because there's no way that man will want to have sex with his mother. Well, if he did, he's pretty fucked up. That's a whole different episode. But do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, no one wants to have sex with someone that's mothering them and doting on them, and ooh, yuck. And why would you want to be in that energy, So it's like, it needs to be clear cut. You're a mother to your children. You're a lover to your partner. That is it.
That's so simple when you put it that way as well.
Yeah.
It's two different energies.
Yeah.
And I think we do mix them up.
I've done it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
And so how do we stop ourselves from mixing those two up and messing that up?
Really? Well, just like because the thing is well, in an everyday practical life, how can you see when you do it? And again, it's like I gave you the example, off when we were recording this, a CEO looks after his company. They have business meetings, that they have KPIs, they talk about all their staff, they do all that kind of stuff, but no one does it in their relationship. So it's taking stock of where your relationship is where it is right now. And if you know when you're unhappy, when things aren't working, so you would have a conversation, and the conversation would be not about blaming each other. It's just like, hey, I feel like we've lost touch. I said this to my, one of my older sons. It doesn't matter whether it's your lover or your children. Hey, I feel like we're not hanging out. Is everything all right? Check. And he goes, oh yeah, we're not really as close as we used to be. Hey, mum, let's do something about that. And we'd hang out. Do you know what I'm saying? Do that with your partner as well. I feel like I'm losing, connection with you. I feel the kids take over. We need to do date nights. We need to organize something. Date nights are so important. And I hear parents say, I don't have a babysitter. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. There's all these excuses.
Date at home.
100%. And you don't actually need money. It's because it's all about time, and it's about the ways, these love languages. And so you would do a date according to what they want. And I always get my clients to alternate organizing the dates, so there's no resentment of who's doing all the date nights. So one week it is the man organizing it and just organize anything that, and then the next week it's her. And it can be at home, and it can be when the kids have gone to bed, and we just have to make the effort. Otherwise you're getting divorced, and then that's going to be a whole lot of money. You got two different houses, two different, just look at the big picture.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
We've both been there. Yeah.
Okay. So you were suggesting to have the date nights.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you saying that when you plan those things out, of course, you're going to immediately going to shift your energy because it's organized.
Well, yeah. And like people always think that I'm going to go back to that. People think that the organized word is so not sexy in a relationship. But the thing is you've got to be realistic. You've got kids, you've got a family, you've got a business to run, you've got to go to work, you've got to be healthy, you know. Sometimes date nights need to be organized. So it needs to be the same night. And it doesn't need to be weekly, fortnightly, but it won't, you know, you cannot miss it. Even if someone's sick and it's your date night time, create a date night in bed, take some soup to their bed, like make an effort. You know, people get so lazy. They just, you know, you would do it to your best friend. You would take something around to their house. Why are we not doing it to our partners? They're the most important humans in our life. You're raising a family together. You have this connection. So why are we nurturing them?
Lots of things get in the way, right? So
we allow them to get in the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So work, all the other hats that we wear, even not just us, but our partner as well wears a lot of hats. So
yes,
we need to nurture, but not in a mother way.
No, we nurture the relationship because
that's
the
so
thing
much
is
better way to put it.
And look, but not nurturing each other because remember,
So you nurture the relationship.
100%.
Okay. And so let's talk about then recreating. I mean, we already started talking about creating something better and new, but in terms of we're mourning the honeymoon period.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that the way to get something like that back, or
100%. How
do we go about creating that new sexual dynamic that's actually going to bring you closer?
Okay. I'm going to go sort of R rating right now. I'm going to tell you why. What people do is, and the thing is I've done a lot of things. And I've always called it research. So we've done the timeline where we used to be sexual freaks. And we just thought that we're all good. And then we have children and we've lost our sexy. And we're like, okay, we need to we can't go back to that because it's different era, different time. So then what couples tend to do, and that's when they get into trouble and then they come to me. So I want to avoid that, is they start doing threesomes, they start going to sex clubs, they start doing open relating. They actually have sex with other people and the partner, generally the wife. These are all examples I've had, worked with. Even though she doesn't want him to have sex with someone else, she's lost her sexy and she's okay with it. I'm doing air quotes. She's okay with it, but she's not. She's just tired. And so this is all that she thinks that she's capable. So she's allowing her partner to do whatever she does just to keep the family unit together. And that's when people just, that makes me sad. They just have given up and then they're just like, well, you do you. And then, eventually it snaps. And I'm not judging anyone, and I don't actually give a fuck what anyone does out there, but I'm just telling you with my crystal ball, and I've worked with people, it doesn't work.
No. Gosh, no. Thankfully, I've never gone down that road.
No, but some
people do, yeah.
100%, sure. Because what they're doing is that it's because sex is like crack. And so they're trying to find that high that they had with the honeymoon period. So then they're trying to find other mediums to find that crack. The only crack they should be looking at is each other. So I'm trying to say, well, why would you even do that? Like, just see what you can, do within your own relationship that will just build it and make each other sexy.
What do you suggest?
Oh, one thing just for me, simple. When during the day, because for women, we need lots of touch points, right? During the day, he might be in the office and at work and just goes, hey, baby, like, doesn't ring, just to send you a message, hey, baby, thinking of you, what you up to? Man, my pussy's wet. I'm serious.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like and that he's busy as, like, you just know. And then he takes that time out just to, that's my touch point. Yeah. Might be someone else's. No, or he comes home with flowers because that's your touch point. That's not mine. Or makes my favorite meal. I love food. I love acts of service. So if someone cooks for me, damn. But because you know your partner enough, you really should know their love languages. And if you don't, Don't do the test. Yeah. Because then that's how you can start communicating with each other. And the biggest thing that I've always talked about with you is all women love, and men, they love to be seen and they love to be heard. You know, and like I've seen it, I've witnessed it where men goes, yep. They haven't heard shit what she said. And then like later down the track, he said, I told you this, You know, true acknowledgement or true like listening and hearing what you have to say, it goes a long way. You know this. That's your biggest thing was when a man actually it's not about being codependent. You've always said that if they just let you know, like high communication, your biggest tip.
Oh yeah. And that's definitely and finding someone else that is also a high communicator is not easy.
No,
I have, thankfully.
Yes,
but it's not easy.
No.
And so, you know, you have to find a way to make that work, right? It's either going to work or it's not going to work.
Well, the thing is, you said it's not easy, but because I've known you for so long, I don't think you knew that it was possible. And this is what
that's so true.
Women don't realize that. They don't. One, they think that they deserve it. They think they've been told that they're demanding
too much,
or they're too much, or like, oh God, what else? You know, like, is there anything else? And they keep being told that they're wrong. And so they're with the wrong partner or they're not communicating effectively. And then you have these breakups and then you find a partner that actually ticks all the boxes, is because sometimes as a woman, you finally realize what you're worth. You know, learning how to speak up, speak your truth without being a bitch about it. And then hello, your partner comes along. Yeah, you know, so the biggest thing, and even for your women on the podcast, is really they need to really, really know where they're at. And you say to be free to be you. Well, how do we do that? Just by speaking our truth.
100%. And I think that is a big part of where you and I relate, how we work with people, is if you know yourself intimately, and not just sexually, but intimately know yourself, and you can put language around that, then you can be super intentional with creating that and bringing more of it into your life. So one of the things that I think makes like the free to be you, the reason we're here, the reason I do this work, the reason I want people to feel free to be themselves is because it does affect every area of life. And in particular, 100%. It affects this part of their life. And if they want to create something new, or they want to create, if it's within their relationship they have, it doesn't have to be outside of it.
No.
But if they want to start making or creating a life where they can feel free, then they need to know what that actually needs to look like.
And giving themselves permission that they're allowed it.
100%.
That they deserve it.
That's why we're chatting. That's why they're listening.
Yeah.
To give them, I want people to feel that they have permission to do it. Yes. But I also know that the only way that they're going to get that and give that to themselves is by really taking themselves on and looking in there and seeing what's in there and figuring out who they are.
Yeah. If the conversations I've had with people, most people, when I can't do weather conversations, I can't do like small talk. If you're going to have a conversation with me, we're going to go deep.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is most people, they just find it's too hard. It's just like, because they're trying to control their whole life to keep it together, because of everyone's had trauma. Every single person's had trauma. But it's like some people have dealt with it and some people haven't.
Yeah.
And as you said, go be brave, be prepared to go and see, you know, your skeletons in the closet.
Yeah.
You know,
there's a lot. And I think too, that just made me think of something else, because one of the things that comes up a lot when I'm working with people is their relationship with their parents. Well, this is a whole other show. I know. Yeah. We'll just touch on it because I think 100, it's important.
Please.
So your relationship that you have with your parents personally, but also the relationship that your parents had.
Yes.
And what that looked like. And sometimes you want to recreate because it was amazing.
Yeah.
And other times you want to try and create something completely different because it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so you don't always have, we don't always have
the tools as well.
The tools, but we don't always have a very good role model, let's just say.
No.
Right. So how do you, what's your experience when you get into that side of things with people?
That's a great question, girlfriend. Great question. The first thing is actually realizing that how it works, how the dynamic works is when you don't have it doesn't matter whether you've had a bad relationship or good relationship with your parents. The thing is you're generally, if your relationship is not functional, you will start attracting someone that is either your mother or your father. And what will happen in that relationship, you'll start playing out that dynamics that was not met with your parents, whoever the one that you're dysfunctional. So for me, I'm going to give you examples for myself. For me, my relationship with my mother was dysfunctional. And so you hear the term daddy issues, mummy issues. I never thought I had mummy issues. But the funny thing is, and I've done my, comedy show about my dad and my mum. My dad was the biggest whore ever. He was such a whore, and all his brothers were, and everyone used to know, even me as a young child, and it was just like a given that was the normal, doing air quotes again. And my mum was a churchy, and he did what he did, and I loved my dad and I worshiped my father, but he was like a naughty husband. Great dad, a shit husband. But then I find it funny that I had a shit relationship with my mother. And then what I've done when I, did all my work, and the reason I do this work is I realized that I was shown that the only way to receive love is exactly how I felt like that. Exactly what I witnessed with my parents. So then I attracted a man that was a hoe. I attracted a man that was like quite violent as well. I laugh about it now because I've done the work. There's no energy in my body around it. And then I did more work and I went, oh, I'm actually deserving of a man that's quite kind. Okay.
Yeah.
Ticking the box. Oh, I can have a man that will spoil me, and that's okay. I don't have to be this. I can do it all myself. I don't need no man to help me. So the process of a woman that is taking that stock in her life is being brave and actually going there. Like even you, I've like witnessed the humongous change within you. It's just so beautiful, to see that you've found your voice, that you know what you want now, and you've killed the people pleaser. I think you said sometimes that bitch pops up now.
Oh yeah. She does.
I'm like, man, who the hell said you could visit?
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because I have got an amazing quiz that people can take.
Yes, I did that one.
Yes, you were one of my test subjects for sure. So yeah, yes. I'll mention that at the end. But we need to know who she is as well, because
100%.
She comes up, and especially in this particular scenario,
and in relationships. And I think again, if the listeners could truly understand, when you take stock of your life and you can actually start recognizing your behavior that's not working. I'm not going to say good behavior, bad behavior, but behavior that's not working in your relationship. Then you're like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like even when you're raising children, you could scream at them, say, don't touch that oven. Or you could say, Bubba, that's hot. It's hot, sore hands. Like these two different ways of getting the same message across, but one's a loving one and one you're just being a dick. The same in a relationship.
Yeah.
The same how we deal with people, in business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh, that was a big one. That was a big one. So the other thing that I find really interesting, and because I have done some work with you before, and we talked about that hierarchy in the family.
Yep.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Mothers, and especially in cultures, there's like I'm in New Zealand Māori, so in our culture, we're very much about the culture. But what happens is women just allow themselves to be doormats, and they
people pleasers.
100%. And especially with Polynesian, like for Polynesian, and I'm giving you examples, is it's all about the family. Everything's about the family. And if you do anything that is about yourself, you're selfish. And it goes against everything in our culture, which is huge, right?
Well, it goes against that mother energy too.
Yeah. So you've got the mother energy, you've got the culture, you might have religious. So you've got all these scenarios playing out, right? So I always like talk about the family hierarchy, that we have to put ourselves first. And it sounds like so hot. People are like, what the hell, really? Put yourself first, then as a couple, then you're together, then it's the family. And the reason is back to knowing yourself. When you were talking about it, if you truly know yourself, you know your negotiables and your non-negotiables, you know your hot spots, you know where your sweet spot is in your pussy, you know all the things about yourself, and then you're bringing that information because you've done the work to your partner and he has done the same. Then together you guys are like a power couple, and then you have this loving family environment. It's not perfect, but you can work together. But what people have done is they've twisted, we've been brought up differently, is it's like the food pyramid was upside down back when I went to school, and then they put it around the other way. The same with the hierarchy.
Yeah.
It's all about family.
Yeah.
And whilst it is, but if you're not strong in yourself, then you're not strong with your lover and then your families.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really interesting as well. So you're saying it's like a pyramid and you've got to turn that.
Yeah.
Right.
Not someone that we're going to be stealing money off people. Not
that kind of pyramid. But it's similar to what I talk about as well when I'm working with people. We talk about their sense of self and it's so much of a hierarchy, but once you know who you are and you have that core and you really have gone there and understand yourself, then you can start to express it in the different layers, right? So you've got in your relationship, then you've got, and being free to be you, right? So being free to be you in your relationship, free to be you in your family, free to be you in your community, free to be you in the world.
Yeah.
And it's got to be right for all of that. If you don't have the core right, you're going to show up in all those places,
100%.
Not you, and not how, in a way that empowers you or anyone around you. So it's definitely interesting the way you're.
It's kind of, well, it's not mine. It's basically, it's like touching from, I don't know if you know Maslow's hierarchy. So the base, you need to have food and shelter. Same with, so we need to look after ourselves. We need to know where we're at. We need to, show self-love. And then we can basically, as we always know, you serve from the overflow.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's not hierarchies. It's not like the army. It's just the way things should be done. Because if we remember to look after ourselves first, you're showing your family how to do it as well.
Yeah. Well,
leading
that's
by
what
example.
we're just talking about.
Yeah.
Right. Because your children are watching you.
100%.
And I know for me, one of the things that I was very conscious of towards the end of my marriage was the fact that I didn't feel like I was showing up as the real version of it. They didn't really know who I really was. And then that meant that my relationship wasn't
and you weren't true to
true
yourself,
or free. And so that's what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now I'm very conscious of the fact that I do know who I am. I do know what I want. I am showing up in a way that is true, true.
Yeah.
Now they're getting to see that.
Yeah.
And not just for me, but my partner's children as well, because that was a whole nother
type
of relationship.
Well.
So now they're getting another version.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important that we are aware of the fact that we are role models for our kids in our relationship, particularly in our relationship. Because how we treat, how you treat your partner, your kids are going to treat their partner like that.
100%.
They're watching. Yeah. That's how they learn. That's how they are little sponges. And then they become big sponges in more than one way.
That's another subject. We won't go there,
No.
Yeah, and children are beautiful, but
and you have grandchildren now as well. So that's a whole nother dynamic there. And I love how your relationship with your ex-husband is pretty amazing. The work that you've done to be able to have that. Yeah,
we co-grandparent amazingly, actually. Like yesterday we went to because all the babies are under 2, all the grandchildren. And so it was grandparent day or elder day, grandparent day yesterday. So he met me there. He came from work and we did the grandparent thing. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, taking photos. It was just like, oh, I love it. And there's nothing there that like we will never be together again. But the fact that we can just parent these beautiful children that we just love more than our children, it's just beautiful. But that took a lot of work because I had to forgive myself for being with him so long, for all the ugly part of the relationship. But even for him, he's just totally different.
Well, he
as
probably
well.
has to forgive himself.
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
And we do need to do that.
Yeah. I just want to quickly touch on women when it comes to, when you keep saying, well, how do we know when we take, stock of our relationship? The biggest thing with women is when you're in touch with your body, it gives you signs. So we talked about this in the other podcast about you can get the answers from yourself, but also physically your body knows. So number one with women is we need to look after our nervous system. And if we don't, then that's when all these diseases like, I think like for me, I've got Graves' disease. It's an autoimmune system. And it's because for 15 years, I've just been go, go, go. And it's not till now, I'm stopping and I can breathe. And even, been on this trip, that go. But as women, if we check in with our body, I literally will stop in the car and I'll do deep breaths to calm my nervous system down. If I'm not feeling that peace in my relationship, then it's that calmness that as women we should always be striving for. Otherwise, it's just, you can feel it. Women feel it when they allow themselves to connect.
And you know what else I think is a really good point too, is if you aren't aware of the energy that you're in, sometimes and I know this was definitely something that I had to work back from. You become the masculine energy. You lose that sensuality and you lose that feminine because you just trying to do everything.
You're in protection mode.
And
So that's one,
which is the male energy.
And we want to be in the softer, gentle. So when I'm saying, please, women, check into your nervous system, that's that beautiful, gentle feeling that you'll have, and you'll just feel peace, and you won't feel like you're, go. And I get in the car, I literally breathe, or I let out the sound. Like I was trying to get Megan to let out this guttural sound, because it releases stress, it releases anxiety, and it's really good for us to do. Just do it in the car. It's like, it's the same sound that you could make when you're having sex, when you've come. But she wouldn't do it with me. So I said, please do it when you're on your own. But
it's not on the show.
But it's just literally taking deep, these deep breaths and then just letting out sound like, and it's just, take my word for it. You'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to be doing this every day.
So let's wrap up with a few key points that people can take away from what we've talked about.
Yep.
If there was 3 things that you wanted them to get out of this conversation and 3 things that they could do or be aware of right now, what would they be?
Number one is that, I harp on about it, women protect their nervous system, look after their own inner peace. So we should, as humans, we should be striving for that inner peace. And by this, because the byproduct will be, healthy families, because you're not in this state of high alert, which is masculine. You're in this beautiful state of gentleness and sensuality. You'll be able to relate to your partner and then your family. And the biggest thing is to connect to yourself by doing that. When you're with people that are high vibes, it's because they're doing the work, right? They're connecting to themselves. They're still, things don't work now and again, but we're as people just continually doing the work, checking in when we can improve or tweak this area, and being brave. The final thing is to be brave, to be yourself, and just shine. Man,
be brave.
Oh yeah.
And that's not always easy, because it comes with a lot of shame and all the other things that get in the way of that happening. But that is a big one. And it's such a big space to step into, to really start to get to know yourself like that.
But you feel like when the final thing is, when you show up for yourself, and you've always said this about what you've done and all your work you've done, when you show up for yourself, you have that peace. You are personally turned on by yourself, because you know that you're living in alignment with what you believe in. And when you're like that, life's good.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah. And when you're in the right energy too.
Yeah.
When you're feeling feminine and whatever, that's actually where your sexuality is. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Oh, so good. Another great conversation, and so many good gold nuggets in there. And I think that you're definitely going to be back. They're going to be regular. It's going to be a regular. It's going to be a regular. So many things. We can talk for 3 hours. But we won't, because we're all busy.
Yes.
And thank you,
my darling.
Thank you for all the wisdom that you bring to me every day as my friend, but also for being on the show today. And
you're welcome.
What is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to know more about what you do? Because I'm pretty sure after listening to this, you might have some interest.
Instagram is probably the thing, because I have the links there. So the link tree. So basically everything's on there. Okay. Instagram's the way to go. Cool. But the thing is, when you talked about shame, not everyone's ready to be brave. And so that's why I have that online program, so people can work through that themselves. And then when they're ready to be brave and can be their sexy self, then they'll work on it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I'll make sure those links are in the bottom.
Thank you.
And if you've enjoyed this episode with Patty and you feel like this is something that maybe perhaps someone you know, you've had a conversation similar to this with somebody, then do share it with them, because it is the great thing about this medium is that it's shareable, and you can sit when you've got time and you can listen and you can take this in. And I know that this is a big conversation for a lot of big things for a lot of people. So yeah, and thank you for being here again.
Come on.
And have an amazing day, and I will see you on the next show.